Hello, my beloved YouTube people. I hope you're all out there staying safe and staying in the house as much as you possibly can. And I'm going to do a couple, my hope, because we all know I could run out of steam at any time, is to do a couple of serious videos, and then a lovely YouTuber actually asked me questions for my Ask Keys, so I want to get to that too. But I kind of want to separate them because this could all end up tangents. I'm in a mood. I've been meaning to make these videos for weeks, but sinuses and I have a sinus migraine right fucking now. But I've decided if I wait until I feel good, I'm never gonna get them done. So fuck it. Let's go full steam ahead. Yeah. So, I have a story for y'all, and I'm not, how do I put this? I'm just gonna tell you this story. You take from it what you will, okay? Alright, y'all remember me telling you that I was extremely sick around the time my grandmother died, and I was sick for like a month and a half or 2 months? Well, that was back in December, okay? Whatever I caught in Columbus, Ohio. It was either when I was going to the contagious disease ward to see grandma, or when I went to my own doctor that's still up in Columbus. It depends on whatever it was, the incubation period. If it was closer to a week, it was the contagious disease ward. If it was within 24 hours, then it had to be my doctor's office. But we all caught it. However, the kids did not do as bad as me and my sister. My sister is a severe asthmatic, and we both damn near died. And she went to the hospital on a few occasions because she could not breathe. And they were basically like, you seem to have some type of viral pneumonia, but we don't know what it's being caused by. We don't know. And with me, I didn't go to the hospital because grandma had just died, and River was going through this thing where she thought if you go to the hospital, you don't come out. And plus, I was fucking out of it. Like, the thing was, okay, let me start from the beginning. That always helps the story, doesn't it? You'd think a writer would know that. The thing was, the night that I came back from my doctor, which, like I said, was 1 week to the day since I had been in the contagious disease ward. And keep in mind, I have 2 autoimmune diseases, and on top of that, I have shit lungs. My lungs, I have what's called either swimmer's lungs or runner's lungs, depending on who you're talking to, and they're too long. My fucking lungs are too long. And when you have that, it's really hard when you get gunk in your lungs to cough it up. Like, I have to sing. If I don't sing, then I'll end up with pneumonia. And I've had pneumonia 4 or 5 times. But the first time was the worst because my hometown hospital in Circleville, they never figured out that they couldn't see my entire lung, and they were only getting half of my lung, so they were missing the pneumonia, diagnosing it as bronchitis over and over again, to the point where by the time I got the shots of penicillin that saved my life, I was throwing up water. I was in bed for weeks. I was out of it. I was dying. And so, I know what severe pneumonia feels like. And I also know the process, at least as far as my body goes. Usually I'll get something like a sinus infection. It'll drain into my lungs, cause bronchitis, and if I don't get all this shit up, usually by singing, sometimes I use someone's inhaler, then I get pneumonia. So, but like I said, I know the pattern. I've been through it over and over again. The first time I had pneumonia, I had just turned 14 years old. From the time I got rid of that until I started smoking cigarettes at 18 and a half, I had bronchitis every single day. Like, I had chronic bronchitis. It wouldn't go away. I don't imagine smoking improved it. I don't know what made it stop, but that's what happened. And no, I'm not saying smoking is good for your fucked up lungs. Believe me, I know how dumb it was that I ever lit up a cigarette, considering I had already been through all that with my lungs. I know. Believe me. That just adds the stupid icing on the stupid cake. But I did it, and here I am. And I am considering quitting because, especially with this shit going around and everything, smoking is the worst thing you could be doing right now. Anyhow, so, as I said, I know what pneumonia feels like very well. I know what bad pneumonia feels like to the point where you're dying. I know the pattern of how I typically get pneumonia. What happened was, I came back from my doctor's, and that night I felt like I had the worst flu of my life, which I don't typically get the flu. I've never had a flu shot, but even though I catch all kinds of shit, when it comes to the flu, I've only had it 3 or 4 times in my life. Every time there's been a new strain of something weird, I have got the flu. And it takes me down pretty fucking hard. But I always get better from it, and it'll be years before I have it again. So that's why I don't get a flu shot, because I don't really feel like I need one, I guess. But anyway, I felt like I was getting the flu, and I'm like, God damn it, I done caught the flu from the fucking doctor's office. Because I got incense going, and it's irritating my eyes, so I light up a cigarette. I do have a tendency to catch things when I go to the doctor or I go into a hospital. And I was actually very worried about going into the contagious disease ward to see Grandma, because my immune system is a joke. You know, when you have 2 autoimmune diseases, your immune system is no longer your strong suit. But I just felt like this was different. And then the very next day, now keep in mind, the morning before, I had nothing wrong with me. The very next day when I woke up after having the feeling of having a horrible flu, my throat felt like I had strep throat. I could not breathe, and I felt like I had the worst case of pneumonia I've ever had in my life. And again, keep in mind, my worst case goddamn near killed me. So we're talking bad. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, something's not right. When you go through not having insurance and having something like Crohn's disease, and it being like the worst period for your severe Crohn's disease of your life, and you have no insurance, which means you're not going to get any tests, any treatment, not a fucking thing that you need, you learn to listen to your body. And if there is one thing I'm good at, it is listening to my body. And I'm like, something is not right here. I ended up missing my grandmother's funeral because of it. And I got, oh my God, the cough I had. First of all, I had what felt like a rock about that big, but it was like pure hard pain in the bottom of my lung down here, and on both sides. But I could feel it moving. I could feel it moving down when I wasn't trying to get the stuff up out of my lungs, and I could feel it moving up when I was successful in getting stuff up out of my lungs. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. But my thought was, well, even though it feels like severe pneumonia, it can't possibly be pneumonia. Like, if I thought it was legit pneumonia, I would have gone to the hospital. But I'm like, there's no way, because it's just never happened like that for me before. So, about 2 weeks into this, I could barely move. And I was still trying to take care of River and take care of the house. Like, she's sitting there, and keep in mind, I was completely out of my head on top of it. This shit just completely, I was completely disoriented. Half the month of December, I do not remember it. I don't remember Christmas shopping for River's presents. Like, I was as shocked as she was about what she got because I have no memory of that. And it started 3 days before Grandma died. So I knew it wasn't just that, although I'm sure that added to it. But, like, I just knew something was not right. And I could not, it was just like it is with pneumonia. I couldn't get up. I just wanted to sleep. I wanted to sleep nonstop. I couldn't breathe. I had this horrible pneumatic, I believe that's the word for it, fucking cough, this horrible pain in my lung. And I just wanted to lay there and die, which is what you do with severe pneumonia. And then my sister caught it. Now, she caught it directly from me. By this point, even my voice was gone. Like, I could barely talk from my lungs or whatever. And I went to her house the day after Christmas or 2 days after Christmas, because that's another thing. I didn't even see my family on Christmas. I could not get up, right? So I went to her house because she wanted our kids to get together and bake cookies and make a gingerbread house since Christmas had been such a shit show. And she caught it directly from me then. And boy, was she a mess. Like, it was bad. She went through the same thing I went through. But the baby in River, because she has at the time she would have been 7 months old, 7-month-old baby, and River, they clearly caught it, but it was nowhere near what we had. And, that was weird, because generally speaking, if it takes out the bitch with an autoimmune disease, it'll fuck the baby up too. Like, that's the normal rules of how this shit goes. Look at the flu, And it was just like, man, whatever this is very weird. Now, at the same time, and I wish there was a way for the general public to be able to look up these stats, but I don't think there is. But at the same time, at least here in central Ohio, there was this massive spike in, they were calling it pneumonia, like an effect from the flu. Like, they thought people were getting the flu and going into pneumonia and dying. And, like, a lot of people in central Ohio between December and the beginning of February died of including Grandma. What Grandma died of was viral pneumonia. And all these people were getting what the doctors thought was pneumonia as a side effect from the flu, but they were not testing positive for either of those things. So the doctors just put it down as viral pneumonia, from what I heard. And it was just clear. At the time, before the first or second week of January, just thought it was like a mutation of the flu, was what I figured. Because generally speaking, that's how it goes. Me and my husband and River go to a convention every year that he's gone to since he was 18 years old, and we work it, and all of our friends are there, and whole 9 yards. And a young woman, like, I think she was in her early 20s, died from this pneumonia, flu, but not testing positive for either of them, whatever, that was flowing through central Ohio. Now, bear in mind, like I said, I don't know the incubation period of this shit. Really, I don't think anybody's 100% sure on anything about this shit yet. But what I do know is Columbus, Ohio, and I'm only stating this because the theory that we're working on is that it started in China. Columbus, Ohio has a large immigrant population from China. And in the contagious disease ward, there was a man across from Grandma whose family was in the waiting room, and they were from China. So, and that's what I didn't get. When they came out talking about the pandemic only being in China, And it's like the way people travel, I just felt like there was no way. There was no way, because people, it ain't like back in the 1600s when there was a plague that hit London and they were able to just contain it to London. People go everywhere. Today you're in Ohio, tomorrow you could be in China. Like, and with the fact that the government over there and here wasn't saying anything and wasn't admitting that anything was even wrong, people would not have known to look out for this, feeling. Then you add that to the fact that a lot of people don't even know it when they get sick. And it's like, there's no fucking way. It's only in one place. It just didn't make any sense. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we had. What I am saying is I did have contact in the form of, like walking behind and touching the elevator buttons and all that with people who I didn't sit in the waiting room. I was in there with grandma, so I don't know if they were coughing or anything like that. And please, again, do not take this as a racial thing, not in the slightest, because just because people didn't notice it until it was in China, we truly don't know where the fuck this started. We don't. We don't know much of anything about it. But after we got back from OhioCon, and I worked really hard for 2 weeks to try to force myself to, like, I was sitting there and I just had this feeling like, girlie, if you don't get up and fucking move around and start singing your ass off, this shit's gonna kill you. Like, this is not good. You are not in good shape. And again, I was sitting there like, well, there's no fucking way it's pneumonia. I knew that's what it felt like, but it did not follow the pattern. And so I started forcing myself to start out with literally all I could do was stand against the wall for like 5 or 10 minutes. 10 was a big stretch because I couldn't breathe. So I'd have to sit back down and then I'd make myself stand back up. And I did that for a while. And then I started getting up and like walking around. And then I started trying to sing. And I worked on this for 2 weeks, especially to get those hard, whatever the fuck pains they were in my lungs up out of there. And by the time I went to OhioCon, they were like right here. So I did good, but I did it because we work our asses off at OhioCon, and I knew if I went there that sick, I might as well not go. And again, bear in mind, at that time, I had not heard anything about COVID-19. Absolutely nothing at all. I come back from OhioCon, from being around thousands of people all fucking weekend, which, like I said, I was a lot better at that point, and it had been about a month. But I don't know how long you stay contagious. I came back, and that's when I heard the first stories about it, and it's like, wait a minute. I had that. I lost the 20 pounds, like, ooh, buddy. And I called my sister, and I'm like, listen, I think I know what we have. But again, they were saying it was only in China, which made no sense to me. Like, the way people travel, get the fuck out of here, That's not possible. I'm just saying. But, yeah, I had not heard anything about it. And then at OhioCon, there were people who were in what looked like the early stages of this flu I thought I had. And then, like I said, when we came home, a young girl died from it. And I'm going to put it to you like this. They tested my sister for pneumonia. She tested negative. But it looked like pneumonia. It was presenting like pneumonia. They test her for the flu. She tested negative. They come in like, well, here's breathing treatments to add to the breathing treatments you already do. We have no idea what you have. But far as we can tell, the only thing that might help you is some antibiotics and breathing treatments. I don't know. I don't even know if they didn't give her antibiotics. Just the breathing treatments. And it worked. Like, she started getting better, but we were in horrible fucking shape. Like, it was awful. I knew I was just gonna sit there and die. Like, if you've ever had any type of pneumonia, you know that feeling that I'm talking about, where you just know, like, my God, if I don't get up, I'm gonna die. And it was awful. And I'm terrified of getting it again. And then I'm terrified that it wasn't COVID-19, because at least if it was, and I've already been through it, chances are good that I might have at least some level of immunity to it if I get exposed to it again. Which chances are good I will. So that would be the upside to it. But the downside is I will never know. So if it wasn't, then there's still the chance I can catch. Because another thing about severe pneumonia, is that it takes a while to fully recover from it when it's that bad. And it took me months when I was 14 and had it. This has now been a total of almost 4 months since I caught it, and almost 2.5 since I felt like I was really rid of it. I still have not got my energy back. I am still like operating at maybe 20%, 30% of my normal shitty level of energy. And it sucks. Oh, and another thing. I don't know if anything's been said about this, but just to throw it out there. The entire time that I was sick with that, my pupils, according to my husband, were like tiny little pinpricks. He's like, I don't understand what's going on here, which that could be from not being able to fucking breathe. Cause boy, could I not fucking breathe. It was awful. My sister and I have basically stayed apart the whole time I lived down here because we're both terrified that we're going to catch something like that again. Because if it was at that same level that I caught it, I don't think there's a chance in hell I'd be able to fight it off right now. I really don't. But again, I'm not saying, oh yes, for sure I had COVID-19. What I am saying is, I was around people who, not Chinese Americans, like people who they obviously had family in China because they had an accent. They were originally from China. We were exposed to people from the area they are saying it came from. Maybe not Wuhan. I'm not saying that. I didn't get their, ASL. For those of you who are old and remember fucking Yahoo chat rooms. But I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I had all of the symptoms on top of exposure to people from around the area that it supposedly came from. And if that is the case, it has been in America as long as it's existed, damn near. Which again, the way people travel every single day, it's not that hard to imagine it, honestly. And we truly have no idea how many people have it, because you gotta be a fucking, I don't know, astrophysicist to get a fucking test in this country. Which, if you look at South Korea, they handled their aspect of the pandemic so fucking well that you look at what they did, and people are getting a lot better, a lot faster. And then you look at how we've handled the situation. Oh my God. We'll probably never know how many people actually died from this. We'll probably never know how many people were actually infected. How the fuck could we? Not only that, our government knew way before they told us anything about it. Of course, and what they do, Democrats and Republicans, because they're all establishment. They're all the same motherfuckers, working for the same fucking people. What'd they do? Here, let me tell you. They sold their stocks in companies that they knew were about to tank because of this, and invested their stocks into medical equipment that they knew was going to be on the rise. Yeah, because that's fucking totally illegal. And our representatives making our laws and passing stimulus packages should totally have stocks. Anyway, that's my next rant. So, but if that was what I had, here's what I can say about it. You gotta get up and move. Move around, walk, stand against a wall, whatever, but for the love of God, get up and move. Eat. I ate a lot. I think I couldn't really taste it, but I ate it. I was starving, like absolutely famished. And even if, like, okay, if my suspicions are correct, and that is what I had, if I were a great world leader and, say, Putin wanted to kill me, like, a virus could not be created more perfectly to take this bitch out. Again, 2 autoimmune diseases, completely shit lungs. Like, it is the perfect fucking storm for me. And if that is what I had, I made it. I feel like shit all the time, but I'm hoping that passes. But I made it. Even if you are part of the demographic that is more likely to die from it, that does not mean that you absolutely will die from it. We're just in such a fucked up situation. I cannot imagine aliens coming down right now and asking us questions about our society. Can you imagine looking at them and saying, well, we're the richest country in the world, and we have, the most expensive, by far, healthcare in the world, but yet we can't do something as basic as get our doctors and nurses the fucking masks they need. We have an idiot on television who can't figure out why all of a sudden New York needs a bunch of ventilators and masks. What the fuck? Where has he been? I mean, could you imagine trying to explain that to alien life forms? Jesus Christ. They'd be like, never mind. You can keep it. We're going to go back home, lose our number. Like, they would ghost us at that point. And I don't blame them. It's fucking insane. But anyhow, that's my next video. So if you don't want to hear me go the fuck off on the entire establishment on both sides, you might not want to check the next video out, okay? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like I said, I will never know, I don't think, if that is what has been ravaging Ohio all winter. But if it is, don't feel hopeless just because you're in the scared demographic of people who are more likely to die, because more likely does not mean definitely, okay? Oh God, what a fucking mess we're in. Jesus. And then you have a whole fucking cruise ship full of living, breathing human beings with the virus spreading throughout the cruise ship. And we're just leaving. Middle of the goddamn ocean. 4 people had died yesterday. I don't know what it's up to today. But, I mean, god damn, dude. If it was the end, and it's not, by the way. So, you can calm down with those fears. As someone who I grew up Pentecostal, I have a crippling fear of the apocalypse as a result of that. Because that's all they talk about when you're Pentecostal, even in Sunday school for the little kids. As someone who has that fear deeply rooted in me, and not that I'll die during an outbreak or a zombie, whatever. Not that I'll die in it, but that I'll be one of the few to live has always been my fear. But even this is not the end for us, not by any stretch of the imagination. But it's really bad, and the way we fucking treat each other. I mean, goddamn. Could you blame Mother Nature if it was the end? Because I couldn't. Like, yeah. Anyway, on to my political rant. I love you all. Please stay as safe as you can stay. Lots of hand washing. Oh, for all you parents out there, you know how they tell us to do the happy birthday song twice? Well, instead, I've been doing, I don't know if y'all remember the Bringing Home a Baby Bumblebee song from like preschool, but it helps because you have a reason to tell the kids to get like in their fingers like that. And then, wipe the bumblebee off. And yeah, if you know the song, that helps with my kid. She loves doing it. She loves hand washing so the virus don't come and wipe her mother out. I love you all. And I am praying to God that, I'm praying everybody stays safe. And not just everybody I know, but like everybody. This is a fucking nightmare shit show. But we're gonna make it through. You wanna know why? We're tough bastards. We are fucking tough. Love you.